Hello, welcome to the Healthy Alternatives podcast. I am Dr. Christine Sauer with DocChristine.com. Today's show is a recording of my radio show of the same name. Enjoy! Good afternoon. This is Dr. Christine Sauer, your host of the show Healthy Alternatives, here on 97.5 CIOE FM, with live stream on communityradio.ca every Thursday at 12 noon Atlantic Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in today. In this show, I will talk mostly with guests about all aspects of health, healthcare, and wellness, from conventional to alternative and everything in between. My mission for this radio show is to help change people's lives for the better by informing them about different options to get and stay healthy and well, so they can choose for themselves which option might work in their case. And if you feel you are stuck in a dark place, I want to tell you, don't give up. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for you too. Today, I'm very pleased to be with my friend Mitch Kamich. Mitch is a full-service business coach. So let's talk a little bit about Mitch. I am happy to have you on the show and talk about how a business coach thinks about health and how to stay healthy.
Dr. Christine, thank you very much. And as you said, I am a full-service business coach, and I've been a business coach for the last 5 years, and I've been blessed to work with, probably just over 200 businesses in that time. So to just answer the thought real quick, and when you and I spoke to set this up, one of the questions you asked me was how health is so important, and particularly in the entrepreneur's world, and to say, well, how can a business coach talk about health and a holistic lifestyle, or more importantly, what business does to people. And the health for a business owner is tantamount to success. For businesses and business owners, we often spend so many hours inundated or buried or busy with details that we forget some very important things like taking care of ourselves, something like nutrition or regular exercise, or even time with family. And this takes its toll. It takes an incredible toll. And to be able to work with people like I do on a regular basis and to help them, build a healthy business also equates to building a really healthy lifestyle. And that goes hand in hand. And if we don't have that, then unfortunately suffer a lot of the problems that we have now with, the epidemic in mental health issues and depression and anxiety and everything else that goes along with having a very busy, very full, and often a very chaotic life, which is the entrepreneur's dream, if you will, that we do some things that are fun and enjoyable, but we often don't have the same day twice. And that means that our health, our mental welfare, and the health of our families and our lives really tends to suffer quite a bit.
Yeah, and I love that you address it, because I had to learn that the hard way, and I was a classic entrepreneur, workaholic, working all the time. And when I was in Germany, I worked so much, I literally broke my back and had to go down to the depth of physical and mental illness. Now I was a little smarter, and I started to realize, hey, you're working too much. And my husband told me, hey, you have no time for me anymore. So I restructured that. So I get my exercise. I do my Tai Chi set. That's my exercise of choice. I eat healthy. I know now how to do that. I take my supplements and I schedule my time. And that, I think, is very important, that you schedule it all. How did you learn to do it, and what is your recommendation? And I agree, it's very important for mental and physical and spiritual health.
Well, that is a fantastic question, because to start at the beginning of that is to say that I'm not there. I am on a journey just like everybody else is. And I've experienced fluctuations in weight, and as a coach, even as a coach, to say out loud, to have experienced mental health issues is something to address at the front, to say that this is ongoing for me, that I spend a great deal of time, much like we are right now, sitting in a room talking to people, and while mentally taxing, exhausting, stimulating, and the mental gymnastics certainly develops the mind and grows it, the body sits in a chair for hours at a time. And so I have been ongoing in this relationship with health and with wellness now for the entire 5 years that I've been a business coach, and I have had success and failures. But you said something really important. It's to schedule it. It is to make it part of what you have to do not want to do or could do, but that you have to do for, first of all, your own welfare, and then for the welfare of your family. And you mentioned your husband, and that's an important distinction. My wife will often comment how much I work. So one of the areas that I addressed, and it was how often I took care of myself, how often I took care of my wife, how often I took care of my children, and to where I've invoked my own coach. In fact, to say this out loud to everybody, the coach has a coach.
Of course.
And my coach helps to hold me accountable for these things too. So if I don't schedule it regularly, if I don't work with my fitness trainer, and that's something that I do from an accountability standpoint, and if I don't address that with my coach, and if I don't address it with my wife, not being accountable means that I'm not scheduling it. I'm not taking care of the most important part of my business, which is me. And if I don't do that, then I am going to fail. And just as you expressed, I have had failure in the past, and it is never more than one bad day or one bad week away from failure. So I can take care of myself to take care of everything else. I can take care of myself because I need to or want to. But selfishly, I also need to take care of myself because this is my opportunity right now. And if I don't do it, no one else will certainly do it for me.
That is very true. And on the other hand, as entrepreneurs, we depend on our ability to be present and to be working to make the money that we are responsible to make for our families and our co-workers and who else is dependent on us. And if we get sick ourselves, suddenly that's all gone.
Yes.
And yes, you can get disability insurance, and that's important to have when you have family. But it is better to prevent it, as you said. And I myself, I have my morning routine now that I connect, and every hour I only do 50-minute appointments. And after the 50 minutes, I set myself the alarm. I get up, I do some exercises for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
Because I don't want my back to go out again. I know what it's like when you can't move for back pain and your legs don't work. It's terrible. I don't want that anymore.
To mirror that quite a bit and to share a little more.
Yes.
I spent years involved in the martial arts. I was always a very active young man.
What kind of martial arts? I'm always curious.
Jiu-jitsu, judo, bujinkan, budo, taijutsu, kung fu. I've been involved in a lot of different arts over the years, and I even ran a dojo for 10 years. That was one of the very first businesses that I ever ran was actually running a dojo and developing students and curriculum and things like that. So there was a lot of joy.
Yeah.
But with that joy and that passion that comes worldwide, when you talk about your back, that resonates with me now. I mean, I'm just in my mid-40s, but I have, my youth taught up in my mid-40s to say that I suffer from severe knee issues, ankle and hip issues. I have a shoulder that does a thing, right?
Yeah.
It does its thing all the time. And if I don't care for myself now, then everything that I've worked so hard for, not from then, but for right now, with being a coach, with helping people to resolve their problems, does two things. One, it takes that away, my opportunity to do that, because I can't move, much like you can't. Right?
Oh,
and
I can now, but I couldn't for some time. I know, and it was terrible.
Oh,
I overcame that. My back is fine now.
To mirror that too, which is wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
My worst injury ever was actually to my knee, which is I say it's hollow like a chocolate Easter egg because I'm missing an ACL and a meniscus and all this other good stuff that's supposed to be in your knee for life.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to my trainer and thanks to the hard work that I've put in over the last year, that's not a disability. It's not debilitating anymore. My knee functions the way a knee should.
Yeah.
So for a man in his 40s to go, do I have another 30 or 40 or 50 years to live like this?
And I love that story because it is so important that even if you have a serious injury or whatever it is, slip discs, with the right training and care, you can help yourself so it functions.
Yes.
And there's certainly days when you may have some pain in your knee, or I have some pain in my back when I sleep in a hotel bed and stuff like that. But you know how to fix it, and you know when you do your exercises and do the right things every day, it is okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, that analogy sticks with me selfishly, because if I don't take care of myself, then my business won't be taken care of.
Right. And it's not just the business, but your wife needs you. If you have kids, they need you. If you have pets, they need you. If you have employees, they need you.
Yes. And you hit it right there. So we can think of health and entrepreneurship as competitive, or we can think of them as inclusive.
Yeah.
Because if we look at incredibly successful people, they have a few things in common. They're really good at organizing their time. They might not be time management experts, but they're very good at looking at what is most important and organizing it. And our health and fitness and our family needs to be one of those things. They are very good at isolating time to do the most critical parts of their business. They work very well with people. All these things point to a very strong physical and mental sense of self.
Right.
They take time to control and sculpt and conquer their own physical forms, and they learn to master what's going on internally. And that is such a huge predicator for success in business, that for us not to do it is crazy. And to look at that for yourself an ongoing back problem, or for me an ongoing knee problem.
Yeah.
And we can either wallow in it, if we will, or we can learn to master that, because that has repercussions, but also rewards for us professionally and personally and spiritually as well.
And I like how you say we can master it, and we can care about ourselves the right way. And many people grow up as people pleaser. They want to do everything right for everybody else. And how can you do anything for anybody else if you yourself don't take care of yourself first?
Yes.
And you call it selfish, and in a way it is, but if you don't take care of yourself, you lose the ability to take care of others.
Yes.
So the purpose of being selfish in that way is to be unselfish.
Oh, Dr. Christine, so absolutely right. And people will say, well, I can leave it for another day, or I can do it tomorrow, or I can do it next week, or whatever it is. The reality is that we don't have that many tomorrows or next weeks or next months. And every time we set it aside, it will punish us. Eventually, it will come home.
And the only time we have is now, right now.
Yes.
And that's a wonderful thought to stay with it for the end of the first half of the radio show. And this is the end of the first half of today's broadcast. Please tune in after the commercial break for more about life-work integration, being selfish to be unselfish, and with Mitch Kamich. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE FM or on the web at communityradio.ca. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer, and today I'm talking with Mitch Kamich, business coach and I wouldn't call it day planner, but work-life integration, interesting specialist. In the first half, we talked a little bit about how important it is to be selfish, to be able to serve others and have the energy and physical strength and mental strength to do your work that you are called to do, right?
Absolutely. Dr. Christina, was just a recap real quick.
Yes.
We have to be selfish if we're going to take care of ourselves physically and mentally.
Right.
But we're all built on only three things. There's what goes on inside of us, what goes on outside of us, and what happens around us. And what happens around us is that third part that we're talking about now, which is time more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And most people think of time as something that has no form, or has too much form, or controls everything to do with our lives, or we don't want time to control our lives, or we want to manage our time, we want to do all those other things. The reality is that if we care and nurture our body, but we have a plan, and funny enough, we get the results. And if we have a plan and we care and nurture ourselves internally, mentally, and spiritually, funny enough, we'll get results, the results that we want. And the same thing happens with our time. If we talk about work-life balance, but what happens with time? If we don't have a plan and we're not careful with it, it will run away, or it will punish us, or it will continue to cause stress and pressure and anxiety and all these other good things that can go along with owning businesses and having really busy lives.
Yeah.
Or we can just learn to get better managing our time. And managing our time is not a binder or a course per se or anything like that, but it's understanding what's most important. And if we can be honest with what is most important, what is most vital, and we focus on those things first, funny enough, if we start to create a plan to center around the most essential parts of our business and of our life, and we ascribe value to those things, then it actually makes it quite a bit easier for us on a yearly and monthly and weekly and daily basis to say what we have to focus on first.
Right. And I love that idea of setting it a priority.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's why I put it, is that most of us wake up every day, and as you and I were talking about off air, most people will pick up their phone, they'll go to the calendar, they'll check their email, and now we're into the so-called race, the rat race, if you will. What's happening hour to hour, day to day. Yeah. Instead, when we wake up in the morning and we put some value and some time into ourselves, we put some time and some value to our family, we look at the most critical, essential, important, and the ones that have the propensity to satisfy our long-term goals first. That ascribes priority today. So when I know what I have to accomplish this year, and then I can say what I need to do with that this month, and then what has to happen this week, and then if anything needs to happen today, now suddenly I'm looking at that most essential part of what it takes for my business to succeed, or what it takes for my family to succeed, or what it takes for me to succeed. And now we start to understand what we call work-life balance.
Yeah, and really there is never a work-life balance in a way for entrepreneurs, because it's not a 50-50 thing, but there has to be work-life integration. I like that word better because it really says it has to be integrated. And a lot of us entrepreneurs, we have a divided day where we give time to the family and ourselves, hopefully in the morning, instead of reacting, as you said, to everything that happens around us. And then maybe doing a few hours of work, and also interrupted by a little exercise in between to get our energy back up. And then maybe have lunch with the family if lucky.
Yes.
And so on. Yes. And for me, it's often then at lunch I have to think about what did we have planned for supper, and start supper, and husband makes supper too sometimes. So that's a big help. And then sometimes in the evening I have another appointment that I need to keep. So that's what I mean with integration. It's all one thing.
I was sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
What a powerful statement, and that word integration is essential to understanding, is that our lives can encompass work or our business throughout an entire day, and yet it doesn't have to be the sole purpose or reason that we live, because we've learned and developed the ability to integrate in other ways. I'm going to say, with what you said, I had to drink my own medicine, if you will, just as early as a few years ago, when my work-life balance, to say, not integration, that work-life balance was so skewed that I would go home after spending a day servicing other people's lives with very little of myself to give back to my young daughters or to my wife or to my full-grown children. And so people would go, well, work-life balance, aren't you taking care of yourself? Well, no, I was not taking care of myself mentally. I was not taking care of myself physically. I was not taking care of myself spiritually. And I was certainly not developing a work-life balance, which is integration, which is to say, here's what's most important for me to care for today. In other words, my business, my clients, for example. Here's what is required to care for my family today. Here's what's required to nurture my relationship. And here's what's required to take care of myself. Now, when are they important? How am I going to ascribe that importance? And where am I going to fit them in so that all the other stuff that happens goes either where it needs to, or I can unapologetically say that doesn't fit what I can do.
And I think for people like us that are entrepreneurs and also, we are also always students. We have to have something that we want to learn new and have to schedule that time. I myself had to learn to schedule at least 2 or 3 hours every week to learn something new, to study, to keep up with the latest science or the latest research in all areas. And I enjoy that immensely.
You and I share professions, a different way that we help people, but you and I share professions in the fact that we look to help and educate and grow other people
right.
they've got in their lives. And if we don't take time to do that, that needs to be an importance, an ascribed importance, to become better at our jobs, then selfishly we're not doing what we need to be able to provide a higher level of service. But selflessly, we can't then in turn just deliver ourselves at a maximal effect. And if we want to integrate the way our business and our personal lives mesh and meet each other, then doesn't it pay to do what is in our best interest to make ourselves better so that we're better at our job, we're more efficient at our job, we're smarter at our job, we do a higher caliber of work right. so that we can perform more in less time.
That's exactly it, and that is so important. We have to look after ourselves first to be able to generate the energy to give it to our clients. To have enough energy. We don't have energy. And I love what Brendon Burchard always says. We are like a power plant that doesn't have energy. We generate the energy by what we do every day. And only if we generate enough energy, so it's more than what we need for ourselves and the family, then we can really give back to the clients and sustain that over the long run.
So with us talking about the way we integrate, and off the air we talked a little bit.
Yeah.
So I really, if you've never shared this before, I'd really like you to say out loud how you start your day, because I really want to share what the way I start my day.
Yeah.
But I found what you do every day just so beautiful that if we don't say this out loud, how do we provide an example to help other people?
Let's just take 20, 30 seconds to share that before the end of the show. And that's nice. I start every day. When it gets light, I let the chickens out. And we have backyard chickens, and I sing to them either Enjoy Yourself or my favorite hymn, which is Then Sings My Soul, Oh Lord My God. I love that. And then, or before, depends on the time of year and when it gets light, I have breakfast, have my coffee, take my pills, my supplements, have breakfast, and I have a piece of paper and I write down what do I want to do on the day. What do I need to do? Who do I want to contact? Who am I waiting for? How do I want to feel on that day? How do I want to be on that day? And that gets me started. And then I hook in and say, okay, now it's time to check the emails. I have half an hour reserved. Check the emails, check the Facebook, see if what's going on. How do you start your day?
Wonderful. I love what you just said. So I start my day every day the same way. I roll over and I pick up my phone, and everybody's going to go, well, Mitch, I do that too. And the first thing I do is I put on music. I go into the bathroom and I turn on the shower, and I turn it on incredibly hot to get a good steam going. And I put on some lovely music, usually jazz, rhythm and blues, something like that. Yeah. Something that gets the mind engaged, that's good mental, that's good mental gymnastics, that is enjoyable, that fills my soul. And then that way my family wakes up in the morning to a bathroom that's warm and to a shower that's running and to the sound of music filling their lives. Beautiful. And I start every day like that because it starts me in a place of calm. And if I don't, then I can feel it in a hurry. And when we talk about work-life integration and balance, or the way we schedule things, if we don't start from that place where we're centered, adjusted, or where we don't have a plan of action in place, where we don't understand what is the most critical, most important, then we're at the mercy of whatever comes to fill our day up. We're going to fill up our day with stuff, or we're going to fill our day up with the most vital parts, what is really going to fulfill other people and ourselves, whether that is professionally or personally with our lives.
And Mitch, this is a wonderful thought to bring us to the end of today's show. Now, before we go, why don't you share how people can contact you, your website? Of course, it will be shared on the podcast site and when I post it on social media. What's your website? How do they can contact you?
Absolutely. They want to get a hold of me. I am a child of the digital age, and I can best be reached on social media. You can reach me on Facebook at facebook.com/ Facebook.com/Mitch Kamich Official. You can find me on Instagram @Mitch Kamich, on Twitter @Mitch Kamich, and of course, I am easily approachable on LinkedIn. I love those platforms, and I love to communicate with people. Come and find me there, and let's start a really great conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show, Mitch, and talking to me. And this brings me to the end of today's shows. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions, thoughts, comments, or suggestions. Or if you'd like to contact Mitch, forgot his contact address. My email here is christine@communityradio.ca, or contact me through my website, docchristine.com, and I'm always grateful for feedback. I also want to extend a special thank you to today's producer, Seth Glasgow. Thanks, Seth. Thank you all for listening to Healthy Alternatives. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer. Tune in next Thursday at noon at 97.5 CIOE-FM Community Radio with live stream on communityradio.ca for the next episode. Goodbye and have a great day.